Hey everyone!
I was scratching my nose.
Spooky.
Started so abruptly.
Okay, well, Justice League has arrived. We've all seen it. We have some thoughts on it, our own reactions and reviews. But also, given the mixed reactions in the press, are critics being completely fair to it? Well, we'll get to that. This is the Need to Know, a weekly deep dive into all the biggest news this week. But really, guys, Justice League is the biggest story right now, so we're just going to spend pretty much this entire episode talking about it.
Yay.
We are the Justice League.
Yeah, right? Delivering justice. Like
I'm
it's
a
crit
robot.
text.
I'm a robot man.
We're also going to
robot
check in with
man.
you guys on Stardust. Just click on our Stardust download link in the description below so you can upload your reactions to your favorite movies and TV shows. Tag us at New Rockstars. Get them featured on the show. By the way, I'm Erik Voss, and the rest of these super friends are...
Hey, over here is Sam Bashor. Over there.
That's Maude. Maude Garrett.
And I'm Tommy Bechtold, and these are my parents now.
Hello, son.
Hi, Mom.
You're no son to me.
And Clucky.
Thanks, Dad.
All right. Well, obviously, our top story is our review of the Justice League. But I wanted to lead with this Stardust reaction from none other than our good friend, Mr. Sam Bashor.
All right, I'm getting out of the theater. Guys, I'm going to be honest. I hated Batman v Superman. Hated Suicide Squad. Garbage movies. I'm being honest. Justice League, f***ing amazing. I honestly don't know what the critics are talking about. It was lovely. Is it flawed? Of course. It's like, give it a B+, maybe A-. I f***ing loved it. Great Flash, great Batman, great Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Superman, everybody. Let me know what you thought. Tag me in it.
Someone's got a filthy mouth on them, don't they?
wow.
Tubi.
I had opinions and feelings.
I just wanted to leave you like that for the whole show.
Yeah.
Just like have a whole...
It's like a Both Dogs in Harmony video. This is in memory of you, but you're here.
Hey,
See you at the crossroads.
What if I just fade out?
B plus A minus?
Hey, lowered a little bit. But
B+,
still,
A-.
I mean, still, yeah, we'll get into that, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever your opinions are on this film, Sam does, I think, bring up a good point that the critics almost seem predisposed to hate this movie.
Yeah.
It's almost like these days critics don't even review the movie itself. They just review the narrative surrounding the film. I think more than anything, critics just don't want to be on the wrong side of history. They want to agree with that consensus. But with a movie like Justice League, it seems like the narrative is, the DCU is trying to copy Marvel's Avenger strategy without earning it with solo films, or Zack Snyder is pretty much style over substance with Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. It looks like he's doing the same thing here. Or Snyder had to step down mid-production. Now Joss Whedon, can he save the day?
By the way, really quick, we know too much about the production of this movie.
Right.
We know way too much about
That
it.
has become the story, unlike the story of the movie itself. And all that stuff, it makes for good press. I just don't know if it's really fair to let that bias our perception of the movie. Personally, I think that bias led to critics being too kind to movies like Wonder Woman, Thor Ragnarok. The press was in love with newcomer directors like Patty Jenkins and Taika Waititi. Maybe a little too hard on this movie. I don't know. So I thought we should just start a discussion with a change of tone. Maybe we can start with pointing out elements in this movie that we thought worked, things that pleasantly surprised us. And a quick warning to our viewers, just to cover our bases here. It's safe to consider this a spoiler review. We will warn you when we start discussing any big twists or reveals that come in the midpoint or later in the movie. But yeah, let's start. What do we like about this?
Oh, can I? Because I mean,
Kick it off.
I obviously don't give it a B plus A minus at all. I think it sits more in the B minus C plus category. But I will say that I had cheer-worthy moments where I was like, yes, out loud in the film. And I quickly want to ask everyone, in the cinema that we went last night, opening night, was it full?
No. I saw it at the Universal IMAX, which I'm like, if fans like to drop a little bit of extra coin so they can see it in the big way that the filmmakers wanted them to see it. And no, it was main chunk of the theater, middle part filled, around the edges not really.
Same.
It's weird.
Yeah, it was not as crowded as I was expecting it to be. It seemed like the crowd really liked it, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree. I think there were some cheer-worthy moments. I think going in with that negative expectation, it just made me enjoy the charming parts of it that much more. One thing I really did like about this that I wish more superhero movies did, maybe Zack Snyder just kind of has an instinct for this, is creating these action moments that really do pay off emotionally. Almost like looking at it like stunt set pieces approach, seeing Aquaman surf down through the building on the parademon and land and flip his hair.
Yeah.
It's really fun. Seeing the two of them work together when he grabs onto the lasso as well and yanks Steppenwolf down. It's
Spoiler.
We're in there though, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I
Okay,
didn't blow anything too much. It's just there's great teamwork moments that to where they thought creatively of like, how can we create an image where we see the Justice League working together in some kind of creative and a visually interesting way. That's one thing that I really liked about it.
I would change the score I give. I'd be closer to Maude. I'd say it's like solid, like in the 70s. It's at points it made me feel like an A+, but overall it's like in the C+, B- area. I think it just kind of comes from the whole being surprised of how much I enjoyed this movie. There were times when I was watching, I was like, I'm waiting for that moment where it's gonna suck. Like it's gonna suck because like when you watch Batman v Superman, I'll be honest, I think that thing is a turd. I really don't like that movie. I watched the extended edition too. Not worth the time. Really not worth the time.
Okay.
But with this, I was just like, none of that's happening right now. I really liked seeing all of the characters interact. The action was pretty amazing throughout, and we'll get to the nitpicks in a second. But no, overall, I will go see this again, and I'm excited too, so that I can be more critical about it, so I can get like the fan part of my brain turned off and really start to like pick it apart and see what I like and what I didn't like. Yeah.
My cheer-worthy moments, though, that I really want to highlight, right at the beginning, the introduction of Wonder Woman, you kind of have the whole movie wash over you again, and it does a great job of reminding you that she's such a powerful, stoic, like, wonderful woman. And like having, the sensory overload of, yes, she looks great, but then her theme song, like how it's taking on so many men with all of their weapons, and she's just like pound, pound, pound. That for me, I got goosebumps. And then obviously the other moment, which is going into spoiler territory, which involves the Flash. He realizes he's not the fastest man, man alive.
Technically,
it's Superman. He's not a man; he's an alien. So, like knowing that he was in holding, and like I love that every time he kind of used the Speed Force, everything else was frozen because that's how it works. And then all of a sudden, seeing Superman's eyes follow him, that was like everyone erupted in the cinema, and that for me was just like we needed a moment like this, and we got it, and it delivered.
If they've been waiting for that for years, I can't believe. I mean, they should be proud of that because that was one of the best reveals for the movie. It was just seeing. Well, we'll get into spoilers in a second.
Superman's so OP.
Yeah,
I thought I liked the pacing in general of the movie. I thought by the time it led to the final battle, I was ready for it, and yet it was still one of the shorter movies of this. Like it was under 2 hours, right? Isn't
2 hours and 1 minute?
Yeah, 2 hours, 1 minute.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, that's right. Like this feels like a good time for this movie to be over now. Whereas normally there would have been like 5 other additional scenes. Like we would have probably seen Iris West. We probably would have
origins
seen,
for everybody.
Yeah, I felt like they kind of cut to the chase with a lot of the origin stories, which was good because we already know them. The trailers did a sufficient job of explaining who you're going to get in the movie. So I thought the pacing was really good. And I enjoyed the like little kind of nods to past franchises. We were talking. I mean, they had already said that Danny Elfman, who scored the movie, was going to use the Batman theme, but it wasn't like gratuitous. It was just kind of an exciting, fun nod to it. And the Superman theme as well.
You call it a fun nod. I got goosebumps.
Oh yeah.
I was like, ooh.
No, the Gotham scene in the beginning really felt like, oh, this is like Gothic Gotham for just a second, for like a little bit.
It felt like kind of the cold open of the 1989 Tim Burton Batman. That's being on a rooftop, Batman just doing what he does best, just kind of foiling some crime.
There was a penguin reference in there. Which
the wind-up.
I loved that. I loved seeing Green Lantern in there as well.
Yeah.
And again, the cinema was like, yeah, you got him. There he is.
Also, that entire scene, that idea of using like the story behind it, like humans came together, Atlanteans, Amazons, gods, demigods, aliens. Like this is a serious threat, and so like the Justice League, obviously, it shows how powerful they are, and it was. That scene. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it's really cool.
Yeah, we are kind of. We've talked about some. You've probably already seen the skip time. Let's just talk about the big scene that happens, right? Okay, so Superman returns. I don't think that was a big secret. He gets resurrected. I kind of liked this moment in the movie. Just it felt very weird where they're all like, "No, yeah, we're gonna do this, right? Can we do this? Is this a good idea? What's gonna happen?
Should we do it?
Should we do it?
Is it ethically
It felt like the Justice League all coming together to do a weird science experiment, and then it comes up and they're like, "Oh crap, we shouldn't have done this. It's a big mistake." It felt like there was a good direct up until that point. I thought the story maybe started to wander a little bit, but once that happened, they were all like working together to do this stupid experiment, and then seeing them have to clean up the mess afterwards was just very fun.
No, I wish they explained. Sorry, I wish they explained what Batman was saying. Like, they're like, oh, wait, this was used to bring Cyborg back, and he brought him back to life, but a human couldn't handle it. Like, but what about an alien? I wish just, like, one extra piece of, like, where did A and B make C? Like, how did you do that? But as soon as, like, they got into it, I'm like, this is fine. I get it. This makes sense.
And I like that the catalyst for bringing Superman back had to come from Barry Allen or the Flash, because, like, you forget, because Ezra Miller's kind of playing him as a goofy kid, that he is one of the more powerful members of the entire, like, DC universe. Like, he's like basically a speed god. Like, and he hasn't harnessed all of that yet at this point in the movie, but in the franchise. And I'm excited for the solo movie even more after seeing this. But it's like, that's when they finally really get to see a full bore. Like, this is what this dude can do, and we would be screwed if he wasn't here. This is why he's here.
Ezra takes a little bit to grow. He grew on me as the movie went on, because a lot of his specific jokes weren't funny, but he did funny things. There were like when he runs around the Batcave and he's looking around. That's not him just being like, and here's a one-liner. And it's like, I think that, like, compared to other superhero movies, the humor written down wasn't very funny, and except for some people had some pretty good jokes. But, like, overall, it was just the situations that we were getting in.
I think he had to do two things at once, poor Barry Allen. He had to be the funny comic relief, and he also had to build his own backstory.
Yeah,
so
that's very true. Yeah.
He would say one thing, which was like, I've got all this power, but I've only ever pushed someone before. And, that was funny. And then you're like, oh, yeah, you are not an attack player. You're not an offensive player on the board. You're a defensive player.
You should be offensive, but he doesn't have any of the skills.
He's not thrown a punch. He's just pushed before.
I
liked that. I liked that moment.
You get the classic, like, how do you get Flash out of a fight? You just got to like, somehow, excuse me, my language, but, like, it just, like, all of a sudden, like, it was, I'm sorry, but it was always just, like, something with his leg, like, so get someone on the leg, so like, it doesn't work,
Yeah, to me, I think, like, Barry Allen and Flash is kind of the soul of this movie, if it has one. Like, he's, of all the Justice League members, the one to have, like, a true, like, hero arc, like, learning how to be a hero, what it means to feel like a hero, early on in the first act, versus just, like, just save one person. You'll know what it feels like after you save that one person, what to do after that. And by the end, he's like, oh, I'm just going to be the one who takes care of the civilian population. It felt like it had, like, moral redemption for Man of Steel, which they just wiped out all the civilian bystanders. It's like, no, we're going to assign one character just to be that hero, to look after the poor people who are trying to get out of this.
They tried to do that with Cyborg, too, but it was like, they tried to give him the journey of, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing in this world, to, like, oh, no, I'm the man now. But it all came kind of automatically to him, like literally, like, it was automated. Like, he just had to plug his in. That's because he's a robot,
right? Yeah, and I think this is a good opportunity to maybe segue into some of the gripes, because yes, this wasn't a perfect film. It was pleasantly surprising in the way that was good, but I think, to me, it had two big errors, things with the villain. We'll talk about the villain. But I think I was really frustrated with the way they used Cyborg to kind of, like, cover all plot holes. Like, his power was to do everything. He's basically immortal technology-wise.
We can't get there in time. I can make it go that fast.
Wait, and I was, like, waiting, like, okay, you're going to open a boom tube, like what Steppenwolf's using? I think you just made the engines burn more fuel. Like, I don't know what you did exactly.
He's a Hemi. He's like, no, I'll just once I supercharge this thing.
Right. I wish he was on the back and just, like, I don't know, shooting rock. I don't know. Like, I don't know what would make him go faster. Yeah.
He's kind of like an exposition machine who, like, somehow knew everything, but also his powers worked, like, digitally within, like, the digital structure of all technology, but also, like, hardware-wise, just, like, plugging his wires into a computer monitor, and now he's, like, basically Ultron control over whatever that is. It felt a little convenient and also confusing. Like, there was... Anytime we had to understand what they were going to do next, Cyborg would just explain something without us seeing what the objective was. I didn't understand what was going on. It's
convenient, yes, but it gave him a purpose. And I really like that. It was like, oh my gosh, we're in a really bad situation. What on earth are we going to do to get out of it? And he's just like, and you're like,
Cyborg does machines. He'll tell us.
And I think something I liked about him is that, like, they actually added some stakes to his character, because usually it's just like, oh, society won't accept me. In this, it's like, he can't accept himself because he doesn't know what's happening to him. It's a nightmare, and if he doesn't, like, stay on top of what's happening to him and, like, cataloging it, it could take him over, and it could be really could be frightening.
Puberty. You know, like, every day something weird's going on in your body, and like, sometimes you can levitate. That happened to you guys when you hit puberty, right? Or is it
Shut
just
the
me?
Before we start talking about the villain, we actually had a reaction from another Stardust follower of ours. So his name is Bruce Wayne. That's interesting. This is the Bruce Wayne. But he had a take on these other things and Superman's return. So let's listen.
All right. Spoiler review. Just go back from watching Justice League. It was fun. The storyline was okay, kind of weak. Started off with Batman. He was great. Commissioner Gordon. He was great. J.K. Simmons, very fantastic. Wonder Woman was fantastic. Superman, we finally got to see his super breath. Barry Allen, Ezra Miller's a Flash. I loved him. He was fantastic. He was hilarious. Overall, great. Cyborg was kind of weak, but other than that, great movie. I loved it. It was great.
I hear Bruce Wayne is very rich.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know that, he'll tell you.
Yeah. I nitpick. Aquaman didn't get anything in this movie. He's there, and he does have one of the funniest moments for me in the movie with the lasso truth. That was really, I really like that. Because at first I'm like, really poor timing with all this really like sexist stuff you're saying. Like you should really like not, I'm like, oh, it's just his brain. He's just like literally there's no filter right now. He's saying anything that's coming to his head.
I mean, when he had that monologue moment, I was like, this is the most he's spoken this entire movie in the last 3 seconds. Oh, it's just for a joke. But it's like, he needed that. His character needed that moment. Learning more about his backstory I felt was quite rushed, and it actually didn't provide a fun invitation to watch the standalone movie for me. That wasn't like a great little tease.
His action makes me want to see it, and I liked how Atlantis looked, and Mira being there for a second. I saw someone complain, they're like, well, what can she do? I'm like, I don't know, man. The city is underwater. Of course there's going to be some kind of magic or powers or something. Her making little bubbles and stuff, that was a cool way of fighting Steppenwolf, because immediately there's gravity, now there's pressure, now there's a force that's hitting you, and it makes sense. I really like how they could have used more of her, and I feel like she got cut when the mandate.
I think they cut a lot of that out. Like I feel like there was a lot more probably Atlantean content that was lost in this version.
All over again.
Yeah.
I was thankful that they made the bubble that they could talk in, because it felt like up until that point, that episode of BoJack Horseman where it's all underwater and there's no dialogue, which worked really great on BoJack. It was one of my favorite episodes. But in this, I'm like, are they going to talk? Is it just going to be like, so thank you for air. People can talk.
It is kind of frightening that when an Atlantean dies, they just kind of like float there, and everyone's just like they just kind of float around the
batting
city.
it around.
Yeah,
it's like fish in an aquarium where there's a dead fish. They're like, just put them by the castle.
Hold on, have you guys seen Under the?
Just put them by the castle.
Have you seen that in the movie Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson, where she's an alien and
I've
seduces
seen the
people
scene.
under the water?
I've seen that scene.
When they're underwater, they're just there.
Yeah,
forever.
they're just looking at each other. Yeah,
Like alive?
you'll have to watch the movie. It's
Don't
really
ever watch
frightening.
it. I sat in my car and like just stared while tears streamed out of my face for about 5 minutes.
Oh God.
That's
My
about right.
friend Alicia was like, watch this movie, it's got Scarlett Johansson, she's an alien. I was like, I'm there. And then I
Nope.
died.
I mean, I was in for a car cry tonight anyway, so I might as well watch a movie. Make it justified, I guess.
Speaking of
Speaking
things,
of justified.
or things that make you cry, do you guys? We should say a couple words about the villain, right? I have a big rant about the villain later on in this
all
episode.
right.
But okay, so
Yeah.
Steppenwolf, he was. I think we did have trouble with just this CGI villain that we don't really have any connection to. We don't really truly understand what his motivations are. What do you
How
guys
many
think?
times have we seen a CGI villain and it not work? Wonder Woman, worst part, CGI villain.
Really?
For me, personally,
When he goes into Ares.
as soon as it's
mode,
Ares,
I love when he did the eye thing in the metal.
You like the eye.
I like the eye thing in
But
the
like,
metal.
as soon as it's a CGI monster, I think BVS, like
Turd.
at the
It's
end
a
of it,
turd, yeah.
it's just, you don't care anymore. And I don't want to keep comparing Thor to Justice League, but when you had someone like Kate Blanchett playing Hela, she's a real person and she imbues it all, and you're just like, oh my gosh, there is a chance I could turn the corner and see her there. Whereas as soon as it's a CGI character, I'm out, man.
It's tough because I didn't find there were moments when the CGI was distracting for me, and I think if I didn't know any problems with Henry Cavill's mustache, I wouldn't have actually noticed it too much. I'd be like, something looks weird about him.
No, the whole time. And then if we are talking about CGI, I can shred all day about having a CGI villain, but how on earth is the other project that he was on putting a beard on or a mustache on? How is that harder than CGIing it off his face.
Yeah, just to explain for anyone who might know, Henry Cavill had a special contract with Mission Impossible 5. Is that what he's working? 6. Where he was not allowed to shave his mustache at all.
So they did reshoots.
So they had to do
Wait,
reshoots.
what kind of weird? Sorry, that is a fake thing you can
It's
put
all
on your face.
ego. I'm sure
Fine.
every movie wants to feel like they're the most important project on an actor's slate. I'm sure, and they're like,
He's
we're not
Superman.
budging.
And now his face isn't catching up with the rest of him, and his teeth looked weird, and they were guessing. There was guesswork there.
I only noticed it twice. I only noticed it twice.
How
in the
often do
movie.
you really look at a person's smile?
Always. You always
Me,
go.
never. But I'm a
Henry Cavill's
sociopath.
as well.
I don't look at anyone's face.
But for me, the CG in this movie, I could forgive it. Like, I got it, and I didn't think that the motivation for this villain was any different from a lot of other
I want to conquer
characters.
for the sake of conquering.
Yeah.
Blah, blah,
Sure.
blah,
Yeah.
Die now.
It's
Why
my
does Loki want?
destiny.
Why does Loki want Earth? His dad was mean to him. Like, I don't know. Like, what does Caecilius want? And then Doctor Strange. If you guys forgot the name of what Mads
Yeah.
Mikkelsen's
Which I
character
did.
was,
Yep.
Oh, you
yeah,
did.
Caecilius.
What is it?
Caecilius, and he was like,
Yeah.
he's like, what do you want? He's like, not dying, kind of, not sure. And then there's just this big poop monster in another dimension that's like wiggling around. And that looked awful. Like, that looked really bad. I didn't find it to be too distracting because the way they utilized him so little in the movie,
Right.
they kind of just mainly talked about him. And you got an amazing scene with the Amazons, which we didn't mention, but that whole
CGI
keep
in
away.
that. The CGI was a bit sloppy when they were doing
Really?
the fast action and the horses. It kind of just looked a little distorted as well for me.
Well, I think it was a dice roll, right? Like, I think the creators of the film clearly thought, well, there's a ton of great, beloved superhero movies that do not have the best villain, so maybe we'll just make this focus on the team up part and not so
I
much
think it
about the
was
villain.
100% focused on
Yeah.
that. Because I even thought the development of Steppenwolf, like, they could have never shown him until the end and just explained, like, this dude's stealing cubes, and then at the end he's going to get real powerful. He'd be like, all right, I care as much based on that than I do now.
Like Jaws, you kind of get little fleeting moments of it,
Right.
and you know he's more of a threat because he's not there yelling at you, going,
Right.
"Oh, I'm gonna kill you." You're like, when you don't know, it's more intense. And I want to say with the character stuff, I feel like really good characters happen to an average movie.
To what?
They're good characters. You have a bunch of good characters
Yeah.
in an average movie.
Yeah, we've seen that. Well, I mean, last week of these characters, we actually asked you guys to tell us on Stardust which member of the Justice League you relate to the most. And we have this great reaction from Nick Misfan and a special friend in her reaction.
So being a woman, I would like to say that I identify most with Wonder Woman, but she's pretty spectacular and can deflect bullets without even thinking about it, so instinctual. So I'd probably say I'm more like the Flash. Like, I feel like a newcomer. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just get in there and I push them and then I run away. And also I eat a lot more calories than you would think I would need. So I got that going for me with the Flash as well.
That's really cool.
Thank you so much for your reaction. And you've been great about like sending us all kinds of reactions, Nick Misfan. So thank you so much. And as a reminder to the rest of you guys that you can connect with us on Stardust too. Just click on our download link in the description below. Post your reaction on Stardust to your favorite TV show or movie and tag us at New Rockstars in that reaction so that we can see it. We will feature you on next week's episode and future episodes that we do this for.
I do have. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
You heard me in take some breath. So you know how Brad Pitt in a lot of the Ocean, I think all of the Ocean movies, Ocean 11, he's eating in every scene. I kind of wish that Ezra Miller was doing that as the Flash because they brought it up twice, but it was kind of a throwaway line. I kind of wish that was like an invested thing and done so subtly that you barely realized. But like that's a really cool thing that he has, which is not normal. That really defines him as a person in a way.
No, it was cut. There was there was a thing where he's just like shoveling burgers into his face. He's eating pizza in like the Batmobile for a second. Oh, not the Monopoly mobile that he has, like that silly car.
We're going to keep talking about Justice League. This whole episode, we're going to be talking about Justice League. And our trivia question, moving on to our trivia question, is Justice League themed or DCU themed? Passing out our cards here.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
our question this week is...
Do you know the answer?
I do not know the answer. Or I might know the answer. I don't know. In the opening flashback of Batman v Superman that shows the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents, what two films were listed on the movie theater's marquee in the background? In the opening flashback of Batman v Superman that shows the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents, what two films were listed on the movie theater's marquee in the background? I guess this is the movie that they were walking out of at the time when they were about to... right before they were getting killed. By the way, that is Jeffrey Dean Morgan, a.k.a. Negan, a.k.a. the comedian, who played Bruce Wayne's father.
If they did Flashpoint and they did Thomas Wayne Batman, that's the perfect person. That is absolutely perfect.
Can you just throw me a bone a bit?
Neat.
Are they made-up movies or actual movies?
I know one of them, and it is an actual movie, so I'm assuming the other one.
What decade? Just give me the decade.
I'm not sure. I think it's
I'm
old.
making it up, so I just need some help.
I believe it's like 50s or 60s, the one that I know. And
Batman's very, very old.
Thanks, Ben Affleck, show me that.
And I can tell you that like it is thematically connected to the story. The one that I know.
I know one. I know one.
I guess on the other one.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna cheat.
You're just gonna look.
Get out of there.
You got a glimpse of me in high school. That's all I did.
Okay. So we have our answers here. I'm gonna put my answer down. While we're finishing up our answers here. We will reveal the answer of this trivia question at the end of the show, and there will be stakes for the winners and the losers. The winner, as in past weeks, the closest answer, as decided by our fabulous judge, we'll do the sign-off goodbyes at the end of the video, and they can kind of make fun of us and our Twitter handles however they want. They can get our names wrong. They can take on a character named Tank, as I did last week.
What? I missed Tank?
You gotta watch Tank. Meanwhile, the loser will have to read our In Other News wrap-up headlines and be hilarious on the spot. Oh, God, who wants that?
Yeah, I'm real good at it, so bring it on, because I'm probably going to get there.
And I'm permanently banned from doing that, so let's hope someone else.
Oh, boy.
How many C-bombs did you drop?
Well, depends on what you call C-bomb.
We're gonna move on now to, and we're gonna look at Justice League by the numbers. The number that I'm most interested in is 13 million. Now that was Justice League's opening night box office profit in Brazil. That's 13 million reals. That's a Brazilian currency. This was the country's largest opening for a movie ever.
Wow.
Now part of this,
why?
Well, they're saying not only is it super popular there, but part of it might be because Wednesday was a national holiday in Brazil. However, I think superhero movies' huge overseas success is kind of the bottom line for these movies these days. Like even if American critics don't love them, if millions of people in like Brazil or China or India watch, at the end of the day, it's a win, baby. The foreign box office for Batman v Superman and Captain America: Civil War, Thor: Ragnarok, Spider-Man: Homecoming, they were all nearly double what they made in the U.S. Interestingly, Wonder Woman was one of the few superhero movies to do better in the U.S. than it did overseas. But I think that was the exception to the rule. What is it about DC's characters, do you guys think, that make them kind of immune around the world, the types of gripes that American critics might have with it?
Well, I mean, they're more iconic. Like, I mean, it's Batman and Superman. Yeah. It's them. It's like when you think superhero, you think first usually Superman or Batman. It's always either or. Then you think Spider-Man, you go down the list after that. But like, no, it makes sense. Like, if you're a kid and you see that coming out, you're going to ask your parents, do you want to go see that?
Yeah, there's nearly 80 years of history with these characters. Yeah. So that, this was before Rotten Tomatoes was a thing that you would punch in and wait on what it's going to be, whether it's worth seeing or not, which there's so much crap with that too, by the way. A
critic pointed out, I don't know if we're going to talk about what some of the problems with Rotten Tomatoes. Did you guys?
Sure.
A critic came out and he said that like he didn't realize how he was being scored on Rotten Tomatoes, that like someone will go through the reviews. You guys can correct me, of course, in the comments, because we love doing that. But they said that if he didn't use enough positive words in a review, even if he liked a movie, since there weren't enough positive reviews, he'd make it rotten on the website.
Like positive words?
Positive words, like loved it, this was good, this was blah, instead of being critical of it and actually coming by the end of being like, no, I still enjoyed it.
See, that's funny, because when I do talk about a movie, if I like it, I'll say probably one or two things that I liked about it, but then also pinpoint the things that I didn't. So like right there, we've actually just done it in this episode. We said and shared maybe one, possibly two things that we liked about it, but we're going to spend half an hour talking about what we didn't like about it. So for this Rotten Tomatoes, if that's your algorithm, that's not really fair at all, because that's not how the average person or any person talks about the things that they love, unless it's blind adoration, which a lot of DC fans have.
Yes.
So there you go as well.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a binary. It could be like a binary thing, right? Like maybe the way Americans look at things is kind of binary. There's like one or two answers. It's more of like a fixed growth mindset or something, whereas I feel like other cultures are more pluralistic in the way they look at things and can have more of a gray area opinion and have more of a mixed opinion, a truly mixed opinion about it. I don't know.
She was asking what pluralistic was.
Is that really? You can say pluralistic?
I think it's a pluralist. Yeah, it means that you have you're able to see both sides of it and have an opinion that takes into account multiple points of view.
So you're saying people are more open-minded around the world than we are in America?
Wait a minute.
Wait, huh? Yeah, I mean, not everywhere.
If
But,
you think that's true, don't comment in the comment section below, because I read them all and I will come to your house. I'm kidding. I don't have a car.
I also wonder if, you were saying earlier, Sam, that there was kind of a separate story of Justice League as it was coming out of the product. We knew so much about the production. I wonder if people who live in China and India and Brazil aren't paying attention to whether Zack Snyder's stepping down and Joss Whedon's taking over and how that changes the movie. I just don't think that whole narrative biases people as much.
No, it's just silly that we knew so much going into this. That even with a movie like Star Wars coming out, we know that Rian Johnson made some decisions to do some things different from J.J. Abrams, but it's that's it. Why do we know about all the problems with this shoot or this and this and this and how many writers they brought in or CGI budget or time constraints that the studio put on them? It's I know it's you don't want to see how sausage is made. You don't want to. You don't want to I don't want to know that.
So perfect.
I mean, I wish I was clever enough. Yeah.
Then you can watch Justice League.
Yeah. But also, I just had a point. Totally blanking right now.
Sorry, it was the sausage on the mind.
And there's a lot of cultures around the world who definitely do not want to see how sausage is made because that is not kosher and we do not eat that meat.
I do want to bring up the point where I feel like a lot of the movies that we're putting out now, they're actually catering for these demographics.
Oh, sure.
Doctor Strange, they made changes in a particular character so that it wouldn't offend the Chinese market. And there is a reason why I think we've got 12 Fast and Furious movies coming out. What are we up to now? 8, 9?
We just did 8.
Yeah,
we just did.
They're going to 10 for sure.
Yeah, definitely there's going to be 10. But the reason is because they just make so much money internationally.
Yeah.
And they don't, they love blockbusters, just entertaining, tune out, enjoy movies.
And it's not even just, sometimes it's just a merchandise. If there's a chance that 1 billion little kids in China will buy a toy as a result of seeing this movie, that movie will get made and get a $150 million budget at least.
Yeah.
But it's funny because then you see the opposite side when they make a movie like The Great Wall, which was made with cooperation from a Chinese movie studio. And then they kind of, I think, were intuitive to the fact that the movie wasn't good. And they bailed on it. And they were like, this movie's not good.
It's not good. It's not good. It's a bad
it's
a bad
but it was
movie.
they were actively kind of telling people don't go see this movie, even though we co-produced it.
Damn.
It's it's fine. It's fine. It's in China, but you don't need to go see it.
Well, let us move on to another subject with Justice League. I found Ben Affleck, like we were saying, I found him pretty enjoyable in Batman and Justice League. He got to be a bit more humorous, a bit more of a punching bag in this movie. I feel like he got his ass kicked several times.
Physically and the butt of jokes.
Yes.
People calling him out for being an asshole. He was notified that he was weak. He had no powers. And he was just
I'm rich. That's all I got.
Which you would. If he's trying to call the shots, it's no, Wonder Woman just flicked him and he just pancaked on a wall. It makes sense. Yeah. And also, after Lego Batman, we just made fun of the entire history of Batman because it's ridiculous. If you can poke fun at a guy like that, I think good job. Well, not every joke landed, but I think it's a good attempt.
Some are actually comparing Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne here to the Justice League version of Tony Stark, right? At least how Tony Stark has been used in the Avengers movies. I don't know if that's fair just to pigeonhole him like that. But it does seem it's not totally certain that Ben Affleck will be the front man to the DCEU that Robert Downey Jr. has been to the MCU, right? We've been hearing these news stories ever since stepping down from the director of The Batman over the summer, handing off the project to director Matt Reeves. Affleck has kind of gone back and forth on whether or not he will return as Batman in several future movies. Recently told USA Today that the Batman is, quote, something I'm contemplating. You don't do it forever, so I want to find a graceful and cool way to segue out of it. So even though it sounds like Affleck will return, he's also kind of indicating that he's not in it for the long haul, bringing up the question of who do you guys think will take over the role after him? I want you guys to pitch me, and I'll pitch as well. What actor do you want to see take over as the Batman in the future of the DCEU?
That's tough because I know when it was coming out, we were all over the place, and when we heard Ben Affleck, we're like, no. But it turned out I think he does a good job, at least at Bruce Wayne. I really like his Bruce Wayne, his presence, especially in Batman v Superman. Man, that was one of the highlights for me. Also, the face for me, I feel like for the person bringing everyone together is Wonder Woman, because like that's the one we got behind, like compared to everybody else.
Watch your words when you say that.
Got behind. Sorry. Oops. But for well, now I'm going to put it over to you guys because I can't think of anything. And who would you want?
So this is a funny story because like I was going through the internet. I'm like, I'm interested in who people visualize and if there's a recurring person. And some of the recurring people on the list was Matt Bomer, who's an actor, and Jake Gyllenhaal was coming up a lot. But I can only see them as the perfect Dick Grayson for if that was 10 years ago. So it's like yeah, I'm upset that we never really got a good Dick Grayson, if not ever, for Nightcrawler. Nightwing. Nightcrawler was Jake Gyllenhaal. Right. Good Lord.
The movie Nightcrawler,
yeah.
Like everyone's nerd circuit boards are frightened. They're like, no, it was Alan Cumming. It was Alan Cumming.
Who was Night? And there's another Australian kid who's of that role as well. Far out. Maybe we should just have a little bit of a breather on it.
No.
Okay, cool.
Double down. You have
I want
to.
Christian Bale back.
Christian Bale? I think he's done. I think he's like tired. I think he's like
that's the point though. We got to have it real old. What he was playing in the Dark Knight Rises. I want to wait till Christian Bale gets that age. He's like in his mid 60s. Mad yelling at lighting guys in the background of the set.
Christian Bale.
I want to thank you for having me back to the pitch room. I know that my last pitches have been controversial.
I'm surprised he got it.
And at times upsetting.
Security's fired.
I think that this is what I like about Batman and Bruce Wayne. Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne is very punchable. Like, he's an asshole. Sorry. He's a jerk. He's not nice. He is not your friend. So you want, he does a great job of playing up the Bruce Wayne side of being kind of like a schmuck, and then he's great as Batman. Like Bradley Cooper. Why not Bradley Cooper? We saw Wedding Crashers. He could play an incredibly smash him in the face type of person, and then could put on the bat suit and be the actual person that he is and be heroic. Because
I don't see it.
You don't see it?
I can't visualize.
Well, that's okay.
It doesn't feel right.
It wasn't for you. It was for the people out there that I love so much.
I would like him, though, as one of the Green Lanterns because there's so many of them. He could play one of the 20.
Oh, I really see him as a...
Yeah, he could be a good one. For me, it's tough because you kind of want a young... They played up of how old he feels, at least in this movie, and they grade him up a lot. So he looked older, and he's been doing this for 20 years. Fun thing to say because that means he has a whole rogues gallery of villains that you can play around with. So it's tough to pick somebody who's that age, but if they did like a Flashpoint story like they want to do for the Flash movie, you could pull this weird switcheroo if you wanted to, because I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan so much, and I think he would play a really
play
good
his dad and his
he could play his son.
Himself?
They just CGI his face to look like Ben Affleck, but it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan still playing him. I don't know. It's a tough one because I honestly now see Ben Affleck as Batman. So if you were to play somebody, or I don't know, damn.
See,
I think I'm going to be kicked out. I think I'm going to be.
I don't think it's hard. I want old. I want even older.
Elderly.
I want Liam Neeson. I want Harrison Ford. I want Bruce Dern.
From a Tarantino. He comes in and talks like this. I
want a wiry old man Batman who is like, what was it, Batman Beyond, right? The super old Batman?
He's a fun one.
I want to see that version.
You want Terry McGinnis as your
Kirk
Batman?
Douglas.
Then you've just got another Commissioner Gordon then.
Yeah.
It's not the same man.
Fine, I'm going to have a boner for Bomer then.
Bomer. It's just, I've never seen him do something like crazy with his acting ability, but he is pretty. You have those blue eyes.
That's why I thought he was good as Dick Grayson.
Now, exactly.
10 years ago.
He could still pull it off. He'd just be very mature. He'd be very mature.
It's going to be Adam Driver.
Right.
It's going to be Adam Driver.
Your favorite.
No, I'm just saying, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be someone that we don't want. I personally wouldn't care if Adam Driver was Batman or not, because every single person they cast in superhero roles, I go, I don't know if I see that, and then they put them in the costume, and I go, oh, of course, that makes perfect sense.
Because it's the costume.
He's a teacher.
Right.
Wait, I'm trying to think of literally anybody, like anyone at all, and I'm totally.
Well, it needs to be an
blanking.
established actor. I mean,
See, I don't know.
But
I
they
don't
already
think it's
every single one's in like the X-Men or like the
I know, that's what I was thinking. Someone said Hugh Jackman, and I was like, you're going to take him from, what, 2 decades as
Yeah,
Wolverine?
yeah,
and
it's
move him to
9
Batman?
movies. He did 9. That is insane.
Well, let us know in the comments and on Twitter and on Stardust who you would like to see take on the role of the Dark Knight, Cape Crusader in the future of the DCU. But let us move on. So as we said before, the villain, Steppenwolf of Justice League, is probably the biggest gripe that we have with the film. He's been nicknamed Mr. CGI in some reviews. I believe the Washington Post called him that. He's played by Kieran Hines. That's Mance Rayder from Game of Thrones. So we have some good acting talent behind it. It's just we don't really see his full potential. Actually, Invictus Cosplay on Stardust had his review of Justice League and included some thoughts on the villain.
I have to say, best DC movie they've put out. Better than Wonder Woman, even. She was great in the film. Batman was finally awesome again. Superman wasn't this whiny guy. The Flash, my favorite character in the film. Cyborg was awesome. Not enough Aquaman. The bad guy felt a little bit disposable and like there wasn't really any weight to the whole thing. I get it. The world could end, but it just didn't feel like there was enough. But still a good movie.
Yeah. So
What was Wonder Woman?
I really thought he was going to be in full.
We can all be
Invictus
wrong
cosplay.
sometimes.
Invictus
The
cosplay.
rugby, Matt Damon rugby movie.
All the merchandising for it.
Hey.
You do make some interesting points there in terms of the lack of weight and of the character. He did feel a bit disposable. I think, as we were saying before, he is the latest example of the CGI design villains. Can't really recognize the threat of because there's really nothing human about them.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
they also come in and they're like, rah, rah, I'm so angry, I'm so powerful. And you're like, are you? You're saying it, but
Right.
I haven't seen
We've
it.
He
seen-
did take
yeah.
down all the Amazons.
Yeah.
He was not slowed down. The only thing disposable were those bug things. The parademons. You're going to correct me in the comments. The
But
bug things.
I will say this too, that they established that he has this magic axe that can turn people into parademons. And they only show it once.
Yeah.
Like, why did they give this gravity of like taking someone that we meet in the movie, like the janitor at Star Labs, or the first guy that Batman dispatches of in the.
What about a Green Lantern being turned?
Yeah, or
Like,
something
Yeah.
cool, and show the whole like transformation or something. Instead, it was like, yeah, this magic axe does that, and hopefully it'll be around forever, but it probably won't.
You know what? A quick little pitch me for this. It would have been cool when they kidnapped all those people. They were turning them into parademons when they weren't giving them answers, so at least he's getting a bigger army.
Right.
That would have been cool. Silas is about to be Joe Morton. Love Joe Morton. He was Cyborg's dad. He's about to be maybe mid-transformation. They get him out of there and they put him in stasis. And then when they try to test out the mother box, it turns him back. And like that would be like I don't know if it would have added
had
anything.
more layers. No,
a little bit,
whatever.
or at least turning those people into them. Because you'd be like, oh no, we have to move really fast.
It didn't have like those layered connections where that had a direct effect on that, but then because of that, it was ended up saving the day a little bit more. Like this family in the
only family. I mean, there were more people, but it's like the only family that lives in this town.
Who are they? Why did they have so much focus on them? What was the purpose behind them? This is the thing when you add faceless, nameless people just in a scenario. Like, unless you have more character depth or understanding, or like they have a real purpose to be there, I don't care that the Flash saved him. Oh, good.
It
There
had the
was
worst
so much
joke.
focus on it.
Dostoevsky.
Yeah, wait, I wanted him to
so
like.
he's just an idiot. But
What did he say? What?
he just goes
just
Dostoevsky, and then
Russian
the girl just goes
playwright
like,
or
"Okay,
author?
yeah, you've named a Russian
poet?
writer."
I think I agree. I think my take on it, just to go on a miniature rant here, I think CGI villains can work in theory. I think Andy Serkis has shown us that like you can really create a CGI character that people totally feel something for between Gollum and the Caesar and the Planet of the Apes movies
Not
and
Snoke.
Snoke. Not Snoke. We haven't seen enough yet. It's possible though. I mean, would be the guy to do it. Would be Andy Serkis. I think the challenge is you just have to put the work in, and you have to like identify what the character's goals are. Now, we'd brought up Ultron before as like another example. I personally loved Ultron.
Same.
Maybe.
Sassy.
Right, we get him. Like we
Intimidating.
want to see him when he's not on screen. We're wondering what his latest
Did he just pull a
dastardly
strike
move
in
is.
that photo? Why is he fist bump?
Yes, Turkey. He was fun. James Spader's voice work on it was fantastic. It was unfortunate that they killed him off at the end of the movie before like we could really see the full potential of what Ultron is in the comics. He's an amazing villain. But I think at least we understand where he's coming from, how he was created, why people are afraid of him, and that was CGI. He didn't have like a full human face that we need to lock in. You don't need a full human face face. You don't necessarily need a great villain, but don't just throw this like CGI villain that just looks like a computer game that has no real human needs or wants. They're still characters. We should still understand what they want, and they should want it as desperately as the heroes want it.
Even with this one, like, I know going into the movie, like, he was singing the Pinocchio song
Right.
about No Strings on Me in such a haunting sort of way, where you're just like, oh, this guy's creepy. You didn't really know Steppenwolf going into this movie with Justice League because it wasn't really in the trailers so much. You just don't know anything about him, and then it's like, yeah, the cliff notes is real big, real bad, and just like, but what?
What you got from it was he's the scouting party that conquers planets or whatever. He failed. The only time he's ever failed. 10,000 years later, he's like, and we're good to go. Superman wasn't only around for like 30 years, maybe like 3, and like you could have come anytime before that. But anyways,
Like, get his groove back.
yeah,
you know?
he could have come back
10,000.
immediately, like as soon as the old gods died. Yeah.
It kind of felt like Ares 2.0 as well. Like when he-
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. But I'm going to be honest, I really didn't like Ultron, and I wanted to because James Spader is so much fun. Actually, that's my least favorite Marvel movie. I really dislike it because it also mirrors Justice League a little bit. Point being, in the middle of it, they bring someone to life using lightning in the middle with Vision, and he just shows up. He's super powerful. What can he do? Don't know. Like I don't know why Vision can walk through walls.
Yeah.
That doesn't make. If I bring a robot to life, that doesn't mean they can just do whatever. And you guys are gonna say it's this stupid stone in his head. That doesn't explain
Infinity
it.
Stone?
Yeah, it doesn't explain it. Sorry,
The
I
Flash
don't like
is
this
going
one.
through walls as well in the TV show now. I've noticed.
Yeah,
Amazing.
because he just you know what I mean.
But that doesn't explain. No, that's not science.
Yeah, it's
pretty
resonant
scientific to me.
frequencies. That comic's been around for enough time. They explain it.
And I'm indifferent towards Ultron. To
Yeah.
sew it all together on our opinions. I don't give a care.
James Spader's great.
Well, let us move on to our Need to Know lightning round. I'm going to hit you guys with some rapid fire off the cuff questions that you guys have to answer. Our lovely fans on Twitter have, I don't know if they're all fans or just people who follow us, send us in some questions that they want us to answer.
Some are deep critics.
Or not fans. One
Say
bit.
a lot more bad things than good things, probably.
I wrote down their names and their questions here. I'm going to just throw them
And
at
addresses and phone numbers, so we'll come after
we're
you.
gonna dox all of you guys. So here we go. Okay, Maude. This is not lightning fast at all. Okay, who do you think should play adult X-23 in the future solo film? That is from @MiniRoo.
Keira Knightley? Oh, no, Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah,
Tatiana Maslany.
my wife, I love her.
No, she's not.
Okay, Tommy @Oli Morrison wants to know: have we reached too much Star Wars?
Oh, no way. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, when there's
Look
a
me in the
new
eyes and say that.
there's a new trilogy. Now it's like there's like 19 Star Wars. There's just a lot. It's a long time ago, a galaxy far, far away. I'm trying to move on from it. But yeah, I think we have.
Ooh, throwing over to Sam.
Hello.
Incredibles 2 teaser trailer comes out tomorrow, or it may already be out by the time you're watching this. What hopes do you have for Incredibles 2?
I heard Bob
nifty Nat.
Odenkirk signed on to be in the movie, and another I'm blacking. Kathleen Keener. Catherine Keener, she signed on too. I think it's like my second favorite Pixar movie. I cannot wait for what I want. More family dynamic. It was the best part of the first one.
For
It's
sure.
a bit of a stretch, but, you know,
Oh,
you get there nice and strong and
Yeah,
fast.
yeah. And for me, domthebomb.com. Just wanted to read it.
Felt good.
He has an interesting question. What does Marvel do that DC doesn't to make such a difference in their reception? I don't know if they're really doing something different. A lot of this is just like film studio executives trying to do the same thing that they've always been doing. The difference is I think Kevin Feige came in with a very clear strategy
synergy.
that just DC and Warner Brothers has been just trying to play catch up, and they haven't had the time to
let's
really
also
do the kind of
come on
approach that
for
they
a
wanted.
second. Sorry to chime in on someone else's lightning round question. Let's not pretend like the Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark wasn't the luckiest casting of all. Like they're like, this man happens to have turned his life around at the exact time and is beloved and nails this role. Like, I mean,
That's
he
true.
kind of like
He did. He set it up for the trajectory.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, let us take. Thank you all for sending those lightning round questions. By the way, if you want to for the future, I have some others I didn't get to. But make sure to tweet us next Friday, and we'll answer your questions. So let's move on to the lightning round. Videos coming out on the channel next week, guys. We have a breakdown of Justice League coming. A lot of missable details in there. I can't wait to share them them all with you guys.
Hey.
We also finally have our breakdown of Game of Thrones season 1, episode 4 as part of our rewatch series. I know a lot of you guys have been very patient waiting for it. Some of you not so patient. But either way, we will have this video out. I love the episode, and we're going to try to get through these whenever we can.
Are you sleeping?
No, I forgot what it was. We'll also have a breakdown of Walking Dead episode 5.
I will have a breakdown of my breakdown.
Breakdown, other breakdowns. Yeah, they keep me working around the clock. What else do we got, Sam? We got some.
Oh, we got a Flash breakdown, episode 407. It's a fun one. The season's real fun, and I like making that show. But also, I did a breakdown of the end credit scenes for Justice League, and you guys should go check that out. It's on the channel right now.
Yeah.
And last week, you remember Philip teased some bonus Star Wars content in the pipeline. We can't talk too much about it, but we are still working on them, guys. We're very, very, very excited about it. You're gonna love them. Stay tuned.
You just have to wait for this little shitstorm to.
Yeah, maybe that's related to it. We'll see. Okay, now comes the time for our 15-second shout-outs, where each of us has 15 seconds to shout out, plug, or ramble about anything they want. Sam, why don't you start?
Okay, I'm going to go with Bob's Burgers. It's on Fox. If you guys aren't watching it, you're messing up. It's a delightful animated series, and they're going to get a movie in 2 years. I love it.
Ooh, cannot wait. Coming over to me, I will shout out the season finale and the entire season of Nathan for You on Comedy Central. I love the show so much. It's so funny. I can't even truly explain. I mean, because the premise of the show was already kind of hard to explain. The final episode, I believe I might have actually plugged this on a past episode, but the finale specifically is like a documentary. It's like 2 hours long. Normally it's a half-hour show. It is 2 hours long, and it's just delightful and heartfelt and hilarious. Check it out.
I'm playing Super Mario Odyssey, but shout out to my brother who told me that he's having his very first baby, and I'm going to be an aunt for the first time.
Congratulations!
I'm going to make this kid a nerd.
Yay!
Right.
I'm going to name it.
And I'll continue with the family theme. I'm going to shout out my nephew James, who ended a 9-year holdout of hating Star Wars by texting me yesterday, I like Star Wars now. Just kidding. No, not really. I like Star Wars now. So thank you, James.
What a weird mind game to play with.
Yeah, he's a manipulative little kid. They're all awesome.
Doing this at the phone.
Yeah. And let us return to the trivia question that we talked about earlier. I'm going to assign that. I'll take Tommy's. If you want to take Sam's, and then you can take mine. Great. We'll just read what each other said. Okay, so to remind you guys what the question was, in the opening flashback of Batman v Superman that shows the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents, what 2 films were listed on the movie theater's marquee? Let us go down the line and see what everyone wrote.
Well, Erik Voss said Excalibur and Ernest Saves Christmas.
I believe that was the other one.
Ernest Saves Christmas is a really good one.
I wish that a lot of murders did take place in front of that theater when that film played.
So Sam wrote his answers down before Erik revealed it was like the decade was in the 50s or 60s because he's written The Mask of Zorro and Back to the Future Part 3.
This is the best one. No, it's not. It's the second one.
Well, Back to the Future Part 3 actually came out in 1870 something, I believe, right? Yeah.
Zing! It's a time travel joke.
1865.
Tommy Bottom Line Bechtold, Top Bottom Tommy, also known as, wrote The Mask of Zorro and Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo.
Yeah,
of course.
So nice. We killed him twice. That's what the guy said when we shot Bruce Wayne's parents. Bang, bang, one for each Deuce Bigelow movie.
Well, I got one from Maude. It's a Wonderful Life. Pretty good.
50s Christmas movie.
And then Not My Parents Again. Because this is like, what, the 17th time his parents have died?
Right.
Imagine it like a mock movie poster being made up just as his parents get killed.
Just run, idiot.
And they've just seen the movie, Not My Parents Again.
I want to play Mr. Wayne at some point in my life. He gets killed. We're all going to have a chance to play that character. Okay, the answer, guys, was The Mark of Zorro and Excalibur.
It's the Mark of
yours
Zorro.
was so close.
We're close. Yeah, I guess in both cases it's interesting. I remember Excalibur because that is also kind of the Arthurian legend that like Seven Samurai was based on, when Seven Samurai was a huge influence, according to Zack Snyder, on the story of Justice League. And I guess the Mark of Zorro is also kind of an influence on Batman, just marking his renegade.
No, I always thought it was the mask because he wears a mask. I thought that made more sense because Batman doesn't like.
Letter off.
I mean, in the BVS, he does brand people.
Yeah. So, Judge, who is our winner? Would you say?
Me.
Me? Oh yeah, because Excalibur. I don't think we got. And our loser.
Come on, we had Back to the Future Part 3.
But I had Maskazur.
Bottom line.
Juice Bigelow.
No, wait, she had nothing.
But it was a good joke.
Yes.
It was entertaining and provided.
And then you'll be great at the jokes at the end.
They automatically connect.
I wanna
Okay,
see
well,
you do
I'll do our goodbyes, but yeah, according to our judge, Tommy lost there.
Great.
So I'll handle our
There you
goodbyes. Tommy, you will have to handle all of our and other news topics, and you're gonna have to be hilarious. You're gonna have to make some kind of joke riffing on the details of the news story.
Yeah, this is your fault.
You're gonna be super clever.
Okay.
We may not heckle you. We'll probably be supportive because we love you. Bottom line. That's the bottom line of
top
that.
line.
Right.
Okay, so here we go. Take it away. We're waiting for the prompter to catch up.
This is
Here we go.
Oh,
Yes.
it just says loser. The sequel to the Harry Potter films, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, announced its title, The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Does that mean more
It will
Johnny
star
Depp?
Johnny Depp as Gellert Grindelwald and Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore.
Whoa.
Oh boy, Johnny Depp's really gonna hit that one out of the park.
Oh no.
Shouldn't have made me lose. All right, a Lord of the Rings TV series has been greenlit for multiple seasons on Amazon. Wait a second, they don't have TVs on that island. Get it? Wonder Woman joke?
Oh, sure, yeah.
All right,
Go,
moving
yeah,
on.
Wait, what?
Themyscira, no
Themyscira.
TVs. Yeah.
Super Mario animated movie. I can't
some
read.
yeah,
A
Mario.
Super Mario animated movie has been announced. Nintendo is partnering with Illumination, the producing company behind Minions and Despicable Me. That news doesn't sound despicable to me. Moving on.
funny.
And
I
James
sound
Franco
right.
will play Multiple Man in an upcoming movie. He's a mutant from the Marvel Comics who can create instant duplicates of himself, finally giving James Franco his dream of giving women multiple orgasms.
Oh.
I thought it would have been like, because that's what we need in life, more James Franco.
That would have been better. You should have lost.
Tried.
I tried real hard.
Okay, well, you know, guys, who's back? It's Tank is back. Tank
You're not allowed to write the questions, dude.
I did.
I'm so glad I get to meet Tank.
Is this vodka in
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Need to Know. I want Tank our host.
You sound like you're gonna vomit.
Sam, man, this ain't a good birthday Bashor.
When did you have a bad birthday?
It's a joke on my day.
Tank's talking. Hey, EA Voss, not a good time to have your initials be EA, am I right?
Seriously.
Maude, Garrett, Maude.
Tommy.
Careful, Tank.
Being the only one at the table means we get to see your ass a
Brad
lot,
Garrett. No, that's not good. And oh boy, Tank's having trouble. Tank's dying, guys.
No.
Sorry.
Prayers up for Tank.
Tommy Bechtold, bottom line is, you ain't welcome back here.
Fair enough.
That's good. All right. Remember to post your reactions on Stardust and tag us at New Rockstar so we can see it and maybe feature you in next week's video. Guys, oh boy, comment down below, tweet us at New Rockstars using the hashtag #NeedToKnow. Like this video, share it around, and subscribe to New Rockstars for deep dives into stuff you love. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Love you.